This is Empress Lysa beaming in for a gorgeous soul dive with the intuitive coach for sensitive women, Rochelle Hargett, who's hollering from over in Seattle in the US, and I'm here in the North Island, Whangarei of New Zealand, and we're here to talk about this beautiful sacred coming home. We want to talk today about reclaiming sovereign truth within ourselves, and I am so passionate about Amber's story and her amazing process of reclaiming her inner knowing, and I'm so excited that she's going to share a little bit about this today. Why is it that we have to do this in this world today as highly sensitives, as people who feel deeply, as empaths? Why do we need to be able to be reclaiming our truth, Amber?
So a lot of the reason why this is so important for us as sensitives and as empaths is because oftentimes a lot of us, the way that we grow up is we're naturally very outward focused. We're natural people pleasers. We have huge, beautiful hearts. We want to help. We want to heal. We want to give, right? And that's a beautiful thing. But because we are so naturally outward focused and because we feel at such a deep level, it can become hard for us to go back within. It's difficult for us to ground ourselves and to come back to ourselves because we're out here so much. We're taking in so much information from the world around us. And what compounds that is that oftentimes when we're growing up, we get messages and feedback from the world around us that we can't trust our own feelings. We can't trust our own truth because so often we hear, why are you overreacting? Why are you so emotional? Oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? This is the feedback that we get. And as children, we believe that. We don't question it because it's being told to us by our parents and our peers and our teachers. And so we take that information and go, oh, I maybe can't trust my own feelings. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I am not seeing things correctly or seeing things the way that I should. And so we then let ourselves get talked out of our truth, of our experience of the world, and we start to even further disconnect from ourselves because we feel that to belong, to be liked, to be loved, we have to turn off that part of ourselves because people don't understand it. People get triggered by it. People make fun of us for it. And so we become even more outward focused. And when we grow up doing that for years and years and years, it gets to the point where we can no longer hear our own voice, the inner voice. We don't even know what it means to connect to our own truth. And that causes so many problems.
So many.
So much pain because all we want is to give and to heal and to help. But when we get to that point where we're so depleted and so disconnected from ourselves, we're overwhelmed, we're depressed, we're anxious, we're resentful, we're drained and depleted. And in that space, we're really not able to give the way that we have the capacity to or that we deeply desire to. And so that is why it's so important to learn how to come back to yourself, how to come back to your truth, how to reintroduce yourself to yourself, really.
Yeah, exactly. Introducing ourselves to ourselves, that it sounds ridiculous.
It does.
It's so necessary. What percentage of the population would you say have had this experience? Highly sensitives, what do you feel proportionally they are to the general population?
So there's actually statistics on this that 20% of the population has this genetic trait. And what's interesting is that, that's a lot of people.
That's 1 in 5, man. 1 in 5.
Yeah.
That's us.
But we also are technically a minority in the grander scheme of things because there's 80% of the population that doesn't experience the world the way that we do. And so we live in a world that is not really built to fit us.
Yes.
And that can feel very hard and we can feel very deeply misunderstood. And, I used to feel like I was an alien, like I didn't belong here on this planet. Sometimes I still feel that way, but
we've got cute antennas.
yes, it's our little intuitive feelers.
Yeah.
But it's not that we can't thrive in this environment. It's just that we have to stop trying to, it's like we're a square peg and we're trying to hammer ourselves into a circular hole. And the more that we hammer ourselves, the more we lose our true form. Mm-hmm. And so the work that, that I do and that we're talking about here of coming home to your sovereign truth is to stop pounding yourself and to start accepting yourself. And instead of trying to fit into a world that doesn't fit you, start building a life for yourself that allows you to thrive. But to be able to do that, you first have to connect back to your needs, to your truth, to be able to hear your inner voice.
And I'd love to hear, a pivotal moment when you did this, sweetheart, when you become entrained to those external influences that caused you to doubt your knowing and disregard your own feelings and pilot yourself according to their directions and their instructions. What happened for you when you realized that you could no longer do that anymore, honey?
So for me, it got to a point where, my inner destruction really physically manifested itself as a very serious eating disorder. And I was caught in that for a very long time. But the beauty of that is that on the flip side, to come out of that, to heal from that, I really had to learn how to show up for myself. Because when I first sought treatment for it, and I first started healing, I was doing it for everybody else. Like I did everything because it was upsetting my family and it was upsetting my friends. And it had gotten to a point where I realized that I wasn't just hurting myself, I was hurting the people that I loved. And in that place, that was the only thing that would motivate me to get help. But that only took me so far. And as I was going through that healing journey, I realized that I had to stop looking for worthiness and proof of my enoughness and proof of me being okay outside of myself, because that is what I had done my whole life. Was I was chasing worthiness, and I was looking for it in every corner of every room, in everybody's eyes, the way they looked at me. If I upset them, did I do this? I was chasing it outside of myself for so long, and it didn't work. I never felt worthy. I never felt good enough. I never felt okay. I never felt safe. And so I came to this realization that I had to start giving that stuff to myself first. I had to make a decision that I was going to show up for my own worthiness, that I was going to validate myself, that I was going to affirm myself, that I was going to start paying attention to all these horrible things that I was telling myself in my head and consciously changing the narrative. And to be able to do all of that, I had to start listening to myself. I had to learn. I mean, it really was a process of relearning who I was and allowing myself to have needs, allowing myself to tend to those needs without feeling like I had to be guilty, because if I had felt for so long, if I took care of myself, I wasn't going to have enough to take care of other people. But the opposite is true.
Yeah, for us it is.
Yourself. And also a really good lesson that I learned was there's no limit to your love. Loving yourself doesn't have to take away from your love of other people. In fact, it amplifies your love of other people. But we have to learn how to give ourselves the things that we've searched outside of ourselves for so long.
And allow ourselves to sit in the devastation of recognizing and mourning the reality that it didn't come from those whom we had hoped it would have come from, that there's this sacred mourning that we have to face that reality, because when we're out there every day looking for it from everyone else, and then you reach that point where you know it's not out there, and that's devastating. You then have to return to the original experiences of when you didn't receive it from who you thought would have given it to you, whomever that was in your life. It's like you have to face the external devastation that leads you to that internal devastation, which leads you to a point of power, which leads you back to that sovereign truth that I actually know my needs and have the ability to willingly, generously offer that 24/7, because I'm always with me. I'm not over here. We are the only ones, I believe, that are truly capable of offering this for ourselves, that we can't ever rely on anyone else to offer this. And that's devastating. I know that there was a point in both of our lives when we wanted to hold on to the hope that someone else out there, a friend, a lover, an employer, we look and we look and we look and we get more and more devastated. And that will create this specific amount of devastation that will turn us back within to that internal devastation. And once we can look around, that's when we can birth that compassion for ourselves. And I love that you found that you tried to recover for your friends, and that got you to a point. But eventually, true recovery, true healing, we have to be willing to do it for ourselves. And I love that you embody that. I'm so bloody inspired by your story and your willingness to give to yourself. We need models like you in the world because we don't talk about this. And so when you and I, a few years ago, we were younger, we were suffering in silence, trying to put on a facade that we were happy for everyone else because we didn't know how to say, so how did you find that you were worthy? Like, what made you worthwhile of your dreams and desires? But it's not coffee conversation. We're not allowed to talk about that sort of stuff. And that's why I love and adore you. I'm really excited that you are offering a new, amazing 6-month coaching mentorship. I've got the details. The sensitive badass, love the thin skin you're in. I'm so excited. I'll be putting details down the bottom. Why did you create this program, sweetheart?
I created it. This program is my baby. It's a culmination of everything that I've been through, the journey that I have walked. I really felt like I had to learn how to come back home to myself and learn how to, really maximize the benefits and minimize the challenges of being highly sensitive, of being an empath. And it changed everything for me. And I've been working privately with women, for the last couple of years, and I've seen the patterns, and I've seen that it's not just me, and that this work is so deeply needed. And so that's what inspired this program, because it's possible for everybody. Like, I'm not special in the sense that everybody can do this work, but it's so hard for us when we're alone and when we're not having those conversations, we feel like we can't have those conversations. And so, this program has a really great group aspect to it. There's going to be 10 women in it, so that we're creating this sacred container and sisterhood for you to be seen, and understood in a space where you don't feel like you have to explain yourself. You don't feel like you have to apologize for your feelings. And then to have the one-on-one support from me to help guide you through this journey of coming back to your truth. Because the fact is that, as sensitive women, we have so much to give. We have so much to give, and we're so deeply needed and important in this world, but we always put ourselves last in line. And this program is about learning how to come back to find your inner badass, because it's in there, whether you know it or not, it is in there. And to really build this strong foundation of connection to yourself, to your truth, to your inner compass, so that then you can go out and give at your, greatest capacity as a mother, as a employee, as, a friend, whatever is your inspiration, is your purpose, but to come from that healed place and to have that worthiness within you, because when you claim your own worthiness, you give other people permission to do the same. And that's what this is really about.
I love it. And I love that a true empath will be motivated by, what can I give myself so that I can give more to others?
Exactly.
And this is beautiful, because who you have become now, you are so generous, and you are so full of light and power and life, that anyone else out there who relates to your journey will know that this is possible for them too. Because you were not always the badass that you look like now. Like 10 years ago, you did not look or feel like this. You were like, oh, and how do you feel about that? What would you like to do? And what would what's happening for you? And so I just love that you model this. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. I'm so, so amazed by you and so excited for your program. Please check out the details in the link below. Amber is amazing. If you follow her on Instagram or Facebook, I am hooked on her feed and I love watching it. So check out the details below. This is Empress Lysa, beaming in big love, sharing the gorgeous Amber Rochelle Hargett with you all.
Oh, thank you everyone for watching.